2 years ago, I had the best pasta of my life while sitting in a castle that resided right outside of a small town in Italy. My mouth still waters at the thought of linguine noodles, drizzled with black truffle oil, and they were topped with a gold egg yolk that would be popped and would cascade down the crevices of the noodles. Ever since the time I spent in Italy, I've been fascinated with the Italian culinary arts. I itched to know more about the training, the job itself, and the societal view on chefs in the European country. When considering all that I knew about food culture in Italy, my mind flashed back to any movie clips that concerned this matter. I thought of all the vineyards full of tourists mashing grapes with their feet to make wine, all the cooking classes, and the stereotypical chef's coats covered in flour after spending all day making the perfect rigatoni. This all made me want to dig deeper. Often, today, when people think of Italy, they immediately connect the country to spaghetti. However, the culinary history is so much richer than just some noodles and tomato sauce. The emphasis on cooking came about in the Middle Ages of Italy, but lit a fire within the country during the spread of Christianity. The Christian religion placed an emphasis on bread, wine, and oil as symbols of their faith. From my knowledge as growing up in the Christian church, it's second nature to see the bread as the body of Christ, wine as the blood, and oil as the administration of sacraments. Ultimately, the cultural, political, and spiritual blending ended up forming personalities of regions across Europe. The Roman people were very diluted by Christianity, so the culture leaned more towards an emphasis on food in relation to their religion. This later created their identities as Italians as we know them today. We have examples of cookbooks that originate from the Italian people dating as far back as the 14th century. In these examples of cookbooks, they're usually broken up into two categories based on geographical location and style: the southern region of Italy and the Tuscan region. As mentioned before, pasta did not play as big of a role in the Italian medieval cuisine as it does now. In fact, many cookbooks from that time period from all over Europe included recipes for pasta, but it was Italy that focused on the different shapes and sizes of the noodles. As time went on in Italy, the experimentation of pasta slowed, and the food gained enough popularity that it actually earned its right to get sections or even chapters worth of recipes within cookbooks. Ultimately, the growth of cooking in Italy created an undeniable popularity and cemented itself into the culture. This paved the way for civilians of the country to value cooking and to hold it to a certain level of importance. This is when I believe the caliber of chefs being what they are in Italy today began. The influence of chefs in Italian culture has become so important that when rumors of Chef Batura uprooting his restaurant from Modena, Italy, took the mayor by surprise. In the words of CNN travel author Silvia Marchetti, he freaked out. She said that this restaurant in Modena was like the Colosseum is to Rome. Modena opened his restaurant in Modena in 1995, and the restaurant is ranked number 3 on the world's current best restaurants list. While the restaurant only has 35 seats, they receive over 120 bookings every single day. It has become somewhat of a culinary icon in its northern region of Italy. The Italian culture is so diluted by the culinary arts that it didn't surprise me to learn that Pope Francis handpicked a team of chefs to cook for him while he serves as Pope. While Pope Francis tries to eat frugally as to not distract him from his true purpose as Pope, his kitchen staff has a kitchen to work in that was renovated in 2006 to consist of marble countertops and state-of-the-art appliances. Cooking has embedded itself into the homes of Italians. Cooking has become a pastime and something for families to pass down for generations. In an interview with CozyMeal.com, Chef James recalled the time that he spent in Italy learning about the practice. Rather than going to a culinary school, like so many would have assumed, James spent his time with his then-wife's family. We spent a lot of time in Naples, Florence, and Rome, where I learned from her mother, brother, and family, said James. That's not to say that Italy does not thrive in schools that focus on culinary arts. Just a simple Google search will show you that the country is not lacking in places to learn how to make the perfect bucatini. Often these academies encourage students to attend workshops, whether they be 6 weeks or 6 months long. The life of a student during this time period is spent living, breathing, and sweating the Italian way of cooking. With a little research, I found the Italian Chef Academy in Rome. This program is selective in their process of admissions and actually only has 26 available spots in their workshops starting August of this year. Their kitchens are equipped with all the best appliances, and the Academy prides themselves on their fresh food garden and emphasis on fresher plants. The love for Italian cuisine does not stop at the borders of the country. One of the growing forms of tourism is culinary tourism. Tuscany is a region in northern Italy that is known for its divine wine and al dente pasta, where tourists are rushing in order to smell the aroma of a good marinara on the stove and learn the proper way to julienne vegetables. During these trips, tourists focus on the history of Italian cooking as a way to learn about the country that they're quickly falling for. During their time with seasoned chefs, they're not only adding recipes to their repertoires, but they're gaining skills and techniques from chefs to bring home with them. Barbie Naudoo said, "The cooking and traveling trend got started in Italy when the early 1990s Italian government began to license tourist farms. The only stipulation on these farms were that they actually had to teach their guests something. And what better for Italy to teach the rest of the world than cooking? If you're ready to pack your bags and move across the Atlantic to work in culinary arts in one of the most beautiful places in the world, you might want to hear what I have to say next. A baker, which is a type of chef in Italy, made approximately 1,329 euros a month in 2005. That translates to 1,291 US dollars, a yearly salary of $15,000 for a full-time job. This sets the tone for Italy's reputation of having some of the lowest salary rates in Europe. Of course, Italy works differently in terms of healthcare, unemployment, and government compensations, but the gross average salary for the country is a little over $35,000. The history of culinary arts in Italy is rich and lends a hand to understanding how a country has become known majorly because of the food that it produces. Even today, people are constantly drawn to the peninsula country just to taste the sweet taste of homemade pasta from the pasta capital of the world. Italy itself is a country that embraces food, the arts, and thrives off tourism.